Good evening, everybody. Oh, who just dropped? Animals. What's going on? Terrible. All right. Welcome to the very professional G.I.JOE 3D printing podcast, where we get on early and do all our troubleshooting so that things run nice and smooth.
Yes, exactly.
So
I will take the blame for that one.
it's your fault. Artwann dropped out.
Yes, I probably picked them.
Damn it, Mike. Your fiber optic, whatever. Anywho, so welcome. I think this is our first like Sunday night show ever, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
And returning is Carter the Conqueror.
Howdy.
So welcome back. That was one of my favorite episodes that we've done, was when you were here and did some sculpting around for us. And coming to the show for the first time, probably the last, Arlen Pelletier. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I'm real excited. And we're gonna do some ZBrushing. We're gonna do some head sculpting. It's gonna be kind of awesome. I was hoping Artwann would have popped back in by now.
I think he said he was just plugging in his computer or something.
Yeah. I think he was on a laptop and the battery was probably blinking, so he decided to plug it in, but that should not have booted him out or kept him out.
Died before he plugged it in.
Yeah. So now he's got to wait for it to get up to like 3% or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Classic move.
Classic. I'm surprised I haven't done that yet. All right. So, Arlen, if you don't mind, if you could give us a quick intro, tell us about yourself. And
me?
Yeah.
You.
I'm Arlen. I sculpt action figures.
Yeah.
I'm not good at introducing myself, man.
That's fine. If I recall, you're a self-described not a toy guy.
Whoa.
You
told
me this.
Words.
No. I said I don't collect toys.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's worse.
But I've got like dozens of stuff around me that you've done that are amazing.
Yes.
So, did my favorite G.I.JOE classified figure, Serpentor. You did that guy. Thank you.
That was thanks to Carter. He hooked that up.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That was my first G.I.JOE project ever.
That was your first one. No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you do the air chariot? Did you do the whole package?
I did everything but the air chariot. So like all the accessories and the body and multiple.
You did the snakes? He has a snake.
Snakes.
Right?
Yeah, he has I did the snakes and the staff and the sword.
Awesome.
Very
Cool.
Yeah.
So okay. And Carter, if you wouldn't mind, give us another brief intro. And you don't leave out the Iron Winds medals. I'm still like shocked that you worked there. That blew me away when I found that out.
Yeah. Well, I'm James Carter, but I go by Carter or Carter the Conqueror, and been doing action figures and toys and collectibles for 20 plus years, and originally classic with like clay and wax and all of that stuff, and then I've also done the epoxy when I was with Artwann metals. Then they ended up also partnering with WizKids, so I did both plastic and metal, and then then got into digital and became a sculpting manager with Hasbro after being an intern for them like years way back, and a sculptor for them. And then I had the privilege of crossing paths with Arlen. And one of the main things that I saw from his portfolio at first was Darkwing Duck. And I loved it so much I wanted to work with him, and because that's one of my favorite like Disney Toon characters, and anybody that can kind of nail that style, especially the beak. It's always kind of weird when I see other people do it, but he like nailed it. And I thought, hey, this guy would be like cool to work with. So, and it turned out he was cool to work with and a cool person.
Outstanding.
Well, I think pretty much any fan of Darkwing Duck, that
yes,
is all you need to know about them.
Right. That was one of those after school shows for me that like we caught that one. We weren't going to miss Darkwing Duck.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool that I'm So I have a friend named Josh who is an enormous Darkwing Duck fan. So that's pretty cool. It's such a small world.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I guess we can maybe jump right into it. I'm gonna get this thing set up. So Arlen is going to be driving some ZBrush for us. At the moment, he's just pulled out a sphere as a subtool. But you haven't
I haven't done anything.
Haven't done anything yet.
I just turned symmetry on. That's it.
Okay. Cool. So, do you want to just want to kind of free flow, or would you like us to like throw out an idea or a concept for you?
Well, maybe start free flowing, and then once it gets closer, we can decide where it's going to go.
Dial it into something.
Because I don't have reference. I'm just going from my head. So
okay.
It's probably should have reference. That's smart.
All right, classified scale Darkwing Duck it is.
I do want to note though is that my what do you call it? Is it UI? Is that what they call it?
Your interface. Yeah.
Interface is I haven't adjusted anything. The only thing I adjust is make sure it's like gray, like the matte cap gray.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Otherwise, you are. And this is. Carter, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the older version of ZBrush as well, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I still haven't paid for the the update.
No.
Yeah.
I'm still
and you don't need to. So like we talked about this when Carter was on. Like I bought the lifelong subscription. Like why would I want to switch over to something I never have to pay for again to a monthly plan? That's silly.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah.
Cool.
Am I supposed to just get into it? Is that cool?
Do it.
Go ahead, jump in.
Okay, cool.
And you're already doing that so fast. So
Do you want me to slow it down?
no, but Carter, if you could help me out, we'll try and talk through kind of what we saw you do.
Yeah.
So you masked off some stuff and deleted.
I didn't mask anything off. I just clipped the sides.
Just doing some cutting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between how do you do a cut versus?
You just like the clip curve.
Yeah.
So you know that clip curve.
Yeah. Clip curve.
And I just went like this.
Okay. So.
And then.
Yeah, we went so fast. I thought you had used like the
to
lasso thing to do a mask.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this to you again. That would drive me completely bananas.
Like that.
So okay, you have symmetry. You did a clip curve.
Yeah.
And poof, now you've got some flat sides.
Yeah, and I just kind of
just grab the tool.
It's kind of different every single time I do it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a specific method. It just kind of depends on my mood.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm self-taught, so I don't actually know what I'm doing.
So you had it.
I know because I read the there was an interview with you in the what is that magazine called? Toy
Collector.
Toy Collector. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think I talked to you about this at Joe Fest.
Oh, maybe.
Like for me, there was a moment in that where I realized, I know how I can get over this sort of like hump that I've been on. Where I think you were probably using some other software to just bring subtools in.
Yeah, so I started with CAD. I used to build guitars. So I was a guitar building teacher for about 10 years. And I taught myself CAD so we could CNC guitars. And so when I started ZBrush, I hated it because I was like, what do you mean you can't type in numbers? What do you mean there's no like accurate way of doing anything? And so I would make a lot of the joints and make a lot of the, I guess, more hard surface stuff in CAD, and then started getting more into like the sculpting side to do more organic stuff. I also kind of started out doing, how do I say this without getting in trouble? Transforming robots in CAD. So I was doing like Yeah, robots that transform
in CAD.
in CAD.
Okay, right.
So yes.
So
So like
what-
you were doing them professionally, and like you were doing that for someone, or that was like something you were into?
For someone.
Okay.
So before we get too deep into this, I'm kind of
Yes.
curious. What is your setup, Arlen? Are you just doing all this with mouse, or
So is it
do you have a
Oh,
pen
so
and
is
tablet?
it Wacom?
It's like the Wacom or Wacom.
Yeah,
or whatever,
Wacom,
yes.
Wacom.
Okay.
For my mouse, what I use, I should show you guys this thing. Have you guys ever seen these things? The trackball
Yeah.
mouse?
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's like my favorite. That's what I use. People
Okay.
always think it's weird, but it's just like I find it more accurate and my wrist doesn't hurt. So
Okay.
Okay.
yeah.
So-
Yeah.
do you use the trackball in addition to the tablet, or I'm confused?
Yes. So a lot
Oh.
of times, not at the same time, obviously, but depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing, what do you call it? I don't know the name of anything. Z modeler, I'd probably typically will use my mouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is happening right now?
I'm adding an ear.
Ears.
Right, but so these are these? This is just like some way to bring in subtools that I'm not aware of.
Oh, this is the primitives brush.
Okay.
And you can just drag out basically any one of these primitives up here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's how I add eyeballs too.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Sweet.
That is a
And then you just split them off after. So
Well,
you just
what's crazy is
split
everybody
the mouse
has
part.
like a different workflow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little things that they do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Makes-
Again, I'm self-taught, so I just everything I've done has just been kind of more of like a trial and error kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm not even making sense.
So-
of what I'm doing, but
When you were learning and you got stuck, were you going to YouTube? Are you Googling stuff, or because ZBrush is a bastard. Like I can't
Yeah.
imagine trying to click around and find the thing you want.
Well, the thing is, you find out that almost everything up here is the same as almost everything down here. It makes no sense to me. Like a lot of the stuff you find up here is in here. Honestly, I would just spend time trying to figure stuff out. So I'd go in and try it if that worked. And I, especially like working for Hasbro and like Carter and stuff, he'd be like, that doesn't work. And I'd be like, what do you mean it doesn't work? He's like, oh, it's too many points or whatever. I'd be like, oh, okay, I don't know. And I'd go in and I'd just try all this stuff to get it to be like, is that better? Or most of the time, especially at the beginning, you would totally lose scale. So you would,
Oh yeah.
I had that problem so many times where you're working on something, it's all scaled exactly how you need it. And then you go check something and you're like, how is this like 2 millimeters big? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I found that a lot of times when you bring in, like if you import something and you're not using a star, I don't know if it's changed it on the new stuff, but the old ZBrush, if you import something without using the star, like an OBJ or something, that's where a lot of times you lose your scale. So there's all those kind of things where you just through trial and error, you kind of just figure it out. I don't know. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing.
So right now you're sculpting on one ear, but it's a separate subtool in the other ear.
Currently, yes.
And symmetry just automatically makes it work, or did they have to get linked somehow?
What do you mean?
So those are different subtools.
Yeah.
So like, but one's applying to the other.
Oh no, they're in the same subtool.
Okay.
That's why I can like click it and hide
Okay.
because they're polygrouped differently, right?
Yeah. So
I just removed like I added eyes, but then I split them off. So you would like. Sorry, I probably did it too fast. So if you're adding eyes, say there's eyes. Then you just go
Okay. So when
split
you
mask.
added it because of symmetry, it automatically did both.
Yes.
Okay. And so they're polygrouped and
Yes.
symmetric. Okay.
So when you're doing this, like for the eyes, is this something where you'll just, okay, that's what I was going to ask. Are they just hovering out there for like
Yes.
a reason, or?
Does it help if it's colors on for you guys to see what part I'm working on? or does it matter?
To me, it's making sense, but it might be a little bit more visual if the colors are on.
Okay.
If it hinders you, then don't sweat it.
Oh,
I
that's
just
fine.
so I've never so yeah, so like we talked about with like workflow, like when I've done eyes, like I bring in one, I'll do what I need to do to the one, then I'll like basically mirror it over.
Oh, yeah.
But then they end up being separate polygroups.
Yeah, well, I split everything off after. I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of different every time.
Yeah.
It depends on my mood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, real quick, there was a question in the chat, and Carter,
Sure.
you may be better at answering this one.
Sure.
The question is, how close to a real life person can you get before you owe them for likeness rights?
So we ran into this in the early Jurassic Park movies, and it happens a lot. You'll see other toy companies, if they're doing like a retro line or something, where it might be just a 5-point articulation figure.
Okay.
As long as you don't get super detailed in there, to where if someone put up, say like it was like Michael J. Fox or something and I was going to do a figure of him from Back to the Future. As long as you can't put that figure, that head right beside his head and say, yes, that looks exactly like Marty McFly,
Okay.
Michael J. Fox. So, but you can tell, yeah, it's roughly him. But if you start to get into really the minutia of all the details in his face and because everybody's face is asymmetrical and everything. So if it starts to match up in there, and you could lay a photo right beside it and say, okay, yeah, this is Michael J. Fox. We have to pay him. So,
Okay.
yeah. And we've run into that where we got a little bit too close to someone's likeness, and we had to go back and pull it back. Even some of the folks, and by guys, I mean all of the vendors, all of the sculptors and everything, they're just uber talented folks, and they'll just like go all out. And sometimes we have to tell them, hey, just dial it back a little bit, because now we can instantly know, even if you just look at the head, we already know, yeah, we can tell, okay, wait, that's Michael J. Fox. So
Okay.
yeah, you got to change that. So.
Right.
Okay.
But
So
you get a kid with in jeans and a red vest with sneakers on and brown hair. It's Marty McFly, but not necessarily Michael J. Fox.
Exactly. So you got the idea of it. Like, say if you took the head off of it and just had the head separate from all of those parts that make him Marty McFly.
Mm-hmm.
If you just have the head and now it just looks like, oh, okay, that just looks like some generic head, then you're good to go. But if you took that body away and then you can still tell it's Michael J. Fox, then yes, you've gone too far.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That answers so much for me.
Yeah. There's there's a lot out there. Then there's places, because there's some folks, there's so much out there now. So there's some folks that don't even adhere to any of that. So
Right.
yeah.
So one thing I noticed the other day, and this is still your workflow, you're not even touching Z intensity. You're just relying on the pressure sensitivity of your pen tool on the Wacom.
Yeah, I feel like in my mind, the only way you would want to change it is if it's way too aggressive. So there is some brushes that I will adjust, but if you're like, some people will sculpt with their mouse, so that's the point where you'd probably have to adjust it. But yeah.
This is awesome, because I this will take me 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this in slow motion to figure out what.
But a lot of it is if you know the basic forms, like if you know if you break it down, because if you notice, I'm like, it's still quite low res. I'll try to stay as low res as possible. But if you know the basic forms and like how the muscles affect those forms, you can get there quite fast. Well, I'm not using reference, so it's probably not accurate. So if I actually had, reference in front of me, I'd probably be very embarrassed right now. So, and until that point, I'm gonna just pretend that it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carter, stop me if it's not anatomically correct.
We'll get to that.
Heads are all over the place, man.
They are. But there's certain stuff like when you start getting into the eyeballs and the ears, that usually the tops of the ears are in the middle of the eyeball. Like you start to recognize.
Yeah,
that.
it can slide a little too far one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this looks good so far. Like,
So, a follow-up question that came up from that previous question, Carter, is someone was curious what would likeness normally cost, or is that even something that you were familiar with?
So if someone actually wanted their head sculpted,
No, if you got to the point where you were in the process of making a toy and it did get to where you needed the likeness, what do they normally charge for that?
well, and that's on a case by case basis. It depends on the actor and their people. When you're getting into someone like Star Wars, originally George Lucas was brilliant to where everyone, when they signed up to be part of the movie, they signed away their likenesses. So you're only going through Lucasfilm to get that approval. It all depends on what movie or what property you're working on and what kind of contract that they have with their specific artists, or I'm sorry, their specific people. Like Bill Murray was interesting. He was awesome because he doesn't have like a cell phone or anything, or like his people just had to track him down. So we were waiting for him to approve his likeness for like ever, and I think they ended up running into him at he was doing karaoke one night in Hollywood. So yeah, his person said, yeah, we finally got a hold of him, and yeah, he approved it. So
wow.
Yeah.
So the guy that did the karaoke Star Wars skit on Saturday Night Live in what, like 77, 78 actually sings karaoke. That's amazing.
Yeah, and some there was also, back when I did like a quick small stint for McFarlane, they were working on the Headless Horseman line for a little bit, and they were still doing figures in the Castelline, just like the wax for the figures and everything. And they sent the head to Christopher Walken to be approved, and he liked it so much that he kept it and he didn't return it. And this was the only copy they had. So yeah, they had to send some people out and like talk to him really nice and say, yeah, we need that back. We'll make a casting and stuff and we'll send it to you after we're done. But yeah, he liked it. And I agree. Yeah, I think that was, even for the day back.
Did you do that head?
Oh God, no. Yeah, those were the higher end guys. I was still low guy. Low guy.
I had all those figures. I loved those figures.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually know you worked for them.
Oh, it was a brief stint in Carter's life. So
there was a medicine bag that the Johnny Depp character came with that was just the bane of my collecting existence. It was just always spilling out these teeny tiny little parts.
Yeah, there's things like, there's some accessories that are indicative to the character and you absolutely need them. And then there are some things where folks will add them. And I'm thinking, well, wait, the figure can't hold it. It doesn't plug into a belt or anything. It's just there. There's no storage thing for it. So you're paying to have this tool, have it painted, have it molded, and then probably somebody's just going to lose it because there's no way for them to do anything with it.
There were a couple of weird ones like that where I think there was like a little candle or something with that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of weird little accessories with that. And they looked good and they were fine. Yeah. You're right. Like the characters didn't have hands that could hold them. They had no place to go.
Well, if I remember, that was kind of typical with McFarlane figures at the time in general.
Mm-hmm.
They really went with a lot of iconic accessories, but at the same time, they were just, you'd lose them as soon as you open the package.
Oh yeah. I guess that's kind of part of the fun. So I guess
part of the fun.
That increased the collectability.
Yeah.
You don't want to come close to opening the package because there's no way you're going to keep those things. What was the there was a joke within the G.I.JOE community. I think there was they did like the 50th version of Low Light that came with a single bullet.
Oh, the bullet. Yeah.
And then when classified Low Light came out, they were like, hey, does it come with the pre-lost bullet?
Yeah, I thought that was, I never actually was able to even find that figure or most of those, that wave, just because I just happen to live in an area where there's a ton of toy collectors. So I never even got to a chance. I've heard of the bullet, but I never actually got to see it in person.
Time out. What's happening right now?
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
Are you making eyelids?
He cut it, so yeah, he's making eyelids. It looks.
But he
like.
didn't just cut it. Like he
So
didn't just.
I
He didn't
masked
just.
it and then extracted
Masked it. Masking it. Okay.
Masked and
Okay,
then
so so
extract.
you're making an eyelid that's gonna be just a bit bigger than the eyeball.
Yeah, I'll probably make
effectively?
it bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, show us that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I don't even know how you turn the head translucent. Like, that's pretty.
Oh, there's a transparency button right here.
Right. Am I blocking it with the?
Good.
There
Jiggy.
is.
Right here.
Okay.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So two questions have come up from the chat.
We got-
Number one for Arlen,
Mhm.
from Ben. Do the ears get Boolean to the head? So
Yeah, I will. I'll probably Dynamesh the whole thing
okay.
after. Yeah. This is just kind of like rough. I'm going slower than I did the other night with you guys, or the other day with you guys when we did a practice. But yeah,
That's slow. Holy cow. So the other question is really interesting too. John Carlson asked, any insight on why Mark Hamill sculpts seem to be so hard to nail exactly, but Harrison Ford seems to be much better likenesses?
Yeah, it's you know what? That's a very good question. And
I have a possible answer to that actually.
sure, yeah. I'll listen to yours.
In
yeah.
Star Wars, like the first one, right? Like
Mhm.
young Mark Hamill, no problem. And then he had a motorcycle accident and had like serious plastic surgery on his face. I mean, I think that's why they wrote the Wampa whacking him into the movie, was because his face got screwed up. So maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe there's an asymmetry or a something going on because his face got rearranged.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. And Arlen, I don't think you've done a Harrison Ford or a Mark Hamill likeness for me. So
one of the first things I did for you was a Mark.
oh, was it really?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe you don't remember. So rude.
The brain's getting a little old.
Do you remember those? They were like static. They were quite small, and they were like posed.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, like the Force. Man, what was that called? You're talking about those little statues.
Yeah.
Force Unleashed.
Force
yeah.
Unleashed?
Those are the die-cast ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about those. So here's the thing with Luke, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher. A lot of times what will happen is we'll take pre-existing heads, or we'll take like a 6-inch head or something, and we'll scale it down to like a 4-inch head. If the head at its 6-inch scale isn't completely there yet, it's only going to, all the detail and everything is going to get compressed as it gets smaller. The thing with all heads and like portraits and everything with the toy industry, the issue a lot of the times, especially when you're getting into smaller heads, is the deco. A lot of the times the figure will look like the actors and a lot closer in the actual gray sculpt, but then everything kind of gets washed out through the production process. So then a lot of those little nuances and the little details that actually make the figure look like the actor is supposed to be is lost in translation. The Carrie Fisher, one of the issues that I had with her, and this has been almost every Carrie Fisher figure that we've done, she has a very distinct trait about her. And if you look at everyone's face, like all kind of anyone's you're doing a likeness, everyone has some kind of distinct trait that makes them who they are and makes them kind of stick out. Harrison Ford he's got the crooked nose and he's got the scar on his chin. Mark Hamill, he had that injury, and there's some way asymmetrical stuff going on after his face, but it made after his injury, but it made his face really distinct. The thing with Carrie Fisher is she has a very tiny mouth, and it's not as wide. Her mouth breaks the rule where normally your mouth lines up, the outsides of your mouth line up with the pupils of your eyes, but hers breaks that rule. So she has a very small, narrow mouth. And that's one of her distinct traits. And when I worked on the most recent Leia, that was one of the major things that I made sure that she has to have this really small mouth, and I think that helped her. I hope so.
Okay, I'm looking at some pictures of her, and yeah, I had never noticed that before about her.
Yeah, and so yeah, everybody, at least the hardest to me, the hardest people's traits or features to nail are the folks that don't have anything very specific about their faces. What is her name? Joy Marie Taylor or something. She was in Furiosa. And then the
You
Queen.
talking about Anya Taylor-Joy?
Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah.
she breaks the rule to where your eyes.
Oh yeah, her eyes are.
Yeah, her eyes are very far apart, where you're supposed to be able to fit. If you take your eye, you can put another eye in between your eyes. She breaks that rule. Her eyes are very far apart, and that's what her distinct trait is.
Yeah.
So those kind of little things, if you really want to get into what Arlen's doing and try and get into like nailing people's likenesses, those are the things I would suggest to folks, like just to see about finding what that distinct trait that person has, like, and then you'll kind of get closer to it. So hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, that's looking awesome, Arlen.
You're looking awesome.
You know what? I can't argue that. So thank you. So,
looking.
Arlen, do you have a preference? Do you prefer sculpting like females, males, monsters? Do you have a preference?
Yes, I prefer sculpting all of those.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Fair answer.
Yeah, I mean, I like variation. If I'm doing the same thing over and over again, I get very bored.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why I'm a freelance sculptor.
So you wouldn't want to do like Ninja Turtles day in and day out, or like He-Man day in and day out?
No, but if I got to do them once in a while, then I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is like every time I have a new project, it's something different. So it's kind of it's kind of exciting. Keeps it interesting, at least. Where do you guys want to take this head? Because right now it's kind of cartoonish.
I definitely I would love to see you do some hair, as that's been kicking my ass.
Here we go.
But also I do want to when we get there, I want to talk about creating the ball joint on the inside.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's multiple ways to do hair, depending on the hair, I guess. If it's super stylized, you can make your own brush. But a lot of times, just to get, like, what kind of hair are we doing for this guy?
Let's do a mohawk on him. Something different. That'll be fun.
A mohawk. I guess. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Pretend this guy is awesome and has a mohawk. I used to have a mohawk, and I was awesome, so...
What? No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that tracks.
So is that the extrude tool or the plugin?
Yeah, I mean, again, you can do this any way you want, but did I do that right? I can't see it. I do everything backwards. Actually, scale might be easier.
Okay, interesting question just came through.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in the way that you would make a character for an action figure versus for a cartoon or a video game?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't do cartoons or video games, so
Yeah.
But the mesh is different. It's like when you're sculpting for toys. I mean, again, Carter could probably explain this better than me because I'm in the middle of sculpting a mohawk. The mesh for like 3D printing basically has to be watertight, so there can't be any holes, there can't be any internal geometry, floating geometry. Whereas when you're doing stuff for video games, a lot of times they will have a lot of stuff open because they're trying to keep the point count or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the poly count is down.
Yeah, as low as possible, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, most of your detail on your game stuff is going to come from the skin that's applied to it later on. And that's why we've talked about this on the show a bunch of times. Like, there's different tools for different things. You could make a head or whatever in ZBrush for a game, but like Maya is the correct tool for that.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
you can
it's
start
working
it
with lines, points, and faces versus solids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, depending on exactly what detail you're going for a mohawk, you can kind of just draw some of these things in, depending on what style on the sides, or you can take like maybe not that one, like a tube thing and change.
Tubes. So how long have you been doing the ZBrush and sculpting professionally?
I bought ZBrush, I think, in 2012.
Okay.
Yes. And then I didn't want to actually learn ZBrush. I wanted to only sculpt by hand, because I used to build guitars and I liked, doing things by hand. I bought ZBrush. Actually, I traded some guitars I made for ZBrush and a tablet. Plugged ZBrush in, and I hated it. I plugged it in, almost wanted to throw it across the room. I was like, this is the stupidest interface I've ever seen in my entire life. I took graphic design. Full disclosure, I failed in college, in my early 20s. I was in a band, so I just kind of spent most of my time playing shows and practicing instead of doing schoolwork. So I'm used to Photoshop, and I was like, Photoshop makes sense. Why wouldn't this be laid out like that? And it was not. And then I started, so I was sculpting with clay, I was sculpting with wax, I was sculpting with Castelline, Sculpey, wood, anything I could get my hands on to try different mediums. And then one day there was like I think a competition or something for ZBrush. I can't remember what it was. I was like, you know what, maybe I'm going to give this a second chance. And then that was probably around 2014. And I tried it, and I'm never going to show it. It's like the worst sculpt in the entire world.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Off camera you can show it to me. I'm
Sure.
curious.
I don't even know where it is, to be honest. I'm not nostalgic like that, so I always throw stuff out. And then what happened? Oh yeah, it sucked. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of got a little bit of an idea of this. And then I had a friend at the time that was also into sculpting. So we would challenge each other. So we're like, let's do Joker heads and then see whose looks like what style, like whatever you want. And then we'd show them to each other. So we did that a bunch with a bunch of different things. And I started to like it more and more. And then 2015, I think, I actually saw Carter on ZBrush. What was like a ZBrush Z Summit or something like that?
Oh yeah.
It was you and what's his name?
Jan.
So
Yeah.
I actually went on LinkedIn and messaged Jan and said, hey, do you hire freelance? And he said, yes, we do. Do you know how to do articulation? I was like, obviously. And I didn't. So I went home that night. I went home that night and just with CAD and ZBrush kind of came up with something that was somewhat articulated. Because I understood, I understood the concept of it. And I sent the image to Jan. He's like, yeah, it's great. Showed him my portfolio. He's like, your stuff's great. You'd be perfect for like Marvel Legends and Star Wars. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. So excited. And then he's like, I'll get you in the system as a freelancer. I was like, this is so great. And I had two kids at this point, one 3-year-old and one 1-month-old or 2-month-old. So then I quit my job as a guitar building teacher, and I was like, I'm going sculptor for full time. And he was like, well, you're waiting to get into Marvel Legends and other stuff. Do you want to do some Littlest Pet Shop? I was like, sure. So I did some Littlest Pet Shop, and then he was like, I'm going to hook you up with this guy, Carter. And Carter and I did small doll stuff for years. So I cut my teeth doing like Disney princess high heels and
Yeah.
bodices and
Yeah.
yeah. Oops. Yeah. And then eventually I started getting the cool stuff. But yeah, it was probably about 3 years of doing mostly Disney princess heads and yeah.
Very cool. So there is a question that came up. I think you
Yeah.
answered the why, but so this is actually from Brooks Cobb Guitars, and he says, "Guitar builder here. What
Oh,
guitar
awesome.
company did you build for, and why did you change industries?" I think you covered the change industries, but
I actually worked at a guitar building school. I taught guitar building at Summit School of Guitar Building in Qualicum Beach, Canada. And taught there for 10 years. Yeah, we had students from all over the world.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
nice.
I don't know where I'm going with this mohawk. I don't really want to do this mohawk. I'm not gonna...
Okay, so let me ask like 1 or 2 questions, and then you can ditch the mohawk, and we'll do something else. So you're creating these clay tubes. Right now, they're each an individual subtool.
Yes. So
like in your mind's eye, you were gonna merge them all and then smooth it out.
No, I'll show you. I'll do it quick. It's not going to be accurate, but I'll do it quick. This is what I do sometimes, and it's probably lazy. And if other people that sculpt are watching this, they're going to be like, "That is super lazy." So that's fun. So basically, what I do is I'm just going to polygroup this. We'll separate the subtool. And basically duplicate that just to have it. And I will, if you hold control, you can copy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just keep copying and then move them around a little bit so they kind of don't line up 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of have them stick out a little bit here and there. And then I'll go in a lot of times with this brush, and I'll like
move topology.
Yeah, just so it's kind of like
I always forget about that brush.
Yeah, and then I'll just kind of do that and just do it a bunch of times and build up the mass. And that piece that was inside, I'll shrink it. So I'll scale it down.
Just to give it a fill.
Just to fill it, yeah, just to fill it in, or however it looks in the end. Oops, I guess it has to be.
And for the move topology brush, do you want to tell the folks the difference between the folks and myself, the difference between the move topology and versus just the move brush?
Sure. So the move topology brush, this for example, see how it's all different polygroups? It's going to grab just the one polygroup.
Ah, okay.
So I'm not. Yeah.
Oh.
So just for poops and giggles, could you put it on the move tool and demonstrate why you're not using it?
And then regular move tool.
Everything.
Grab everything.
So if you want to bring everything out and do it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's what you'll do. Yeah.
Yeah. And also another quick cheat, if I shouldn't even teach people this.
Too late.
When you're subdividing, you have everything kind of like rigid like this. If you turn off, I'm going to use my mouse for this. If you turn off your smooth and divide it a couple times, oops, I'm just going to delete that. You divide it a couple times and then smooth it. See how it kind of keeps those ridges?
Yeah.
So for hair, you kind of have ridges that you can kind of follow a little bit to like carve in.
Nice.
Again, cheater. I wouldn't say this is a technique you should use.
Why?
Well, so why is that? Why do you say it's cheating and folks shouldn't use it? I'm curious.
Because people that have been doing this a long time and know how to properly do it will say,
do we?
You shouldn't do that.
I don't. Who are these people? Like,
yeah,
Carter. He's so mean.
No, the reason I ask is because to me, at the end of the day, when I was art directing people, I don't care how you get to C. I don't care what A and B is, as long as you get to C. So whatever that is, however you do that, to me, that's not cheating. It's just that's how you do it. Everybody does it differently. Now, unless you just take somebody else's sculpt and call it your own and say, because that's happened to me. Not
I would never do that.
Yeah.
But the other thing you can do is kind of like pull out different strands as well to give it a little bit more depth. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't look like all the same hair. And then you can merge a couple of them together so it's not just like all separated.
Yeah.
And then you can also come in, you gotta have that and just bring in this and do a couple strands like this as well, just to have like
some variety.
So
yeah,
it's different.
Yeah.
So what? That was curve tool snap. So what's
Yes.
it doing?
Oh, so I have adjusted it. I don't know if you guys were watching. I
saw you
set
kind of real
size
fast.
intensity, and I just kind of give it so it's kind of got like a arc like this, so it goes from thin to fat to thin.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to go too crazy with it, but it's just kind of nice to give it a. Oops.
I'm gonna rewatch this video like 12 times.
Yeah, but it follows anything. So another way of doing
And so that's why you had that extruded mohawk to start with, because you used
it's
it.
just so if you're gonna do like a different haircut, or just pretend that this is really awesome hair. This is not what hair looks like.
So that's the G.I.JOE special right there.
Yeah.
You know, little peek, yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. You can give him like even more of a peak. Whatever you're gonna do. Again, the head would be sculpted way better. You add some volume.
I'm sorry. Go back one, and let's do that a little slower, please. Like the mask is great, but I want let's talk through the extrude. Just a pinch.
Okay, so I've masked off what I want to extrude, and there's an extract button right here.
Hold on, I'm hiding it.
I think you're hiding it.
Yeah.
So extract button,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just extract and then accept. If you don't like it, so if you go back and say you don't like it, you're like, ooh, I want it bigger, you can make it bigger. Or you can make it smaller. So if you're like, this guy wants some really fun hair.
Some chops, yeah.
Some chops. Yeah, and you can just bring it in. Another fun thing, depending on the resolution, will change the resolution of your extract. But you can use that. This brush is really fun for hair too, but you can kind of blend it up a little bit.
Which brush is that?
Clay buildup. Again,
Oh,
it's not adjusted, and then you can just add some some flow to it. And then I always turn off symmetry after to really dial everything in. But yeah. So you can kind of roughen the basic shape of the hair. It's pretty funny looking. And I kind of also do that with eyebrows too. Oops, I should do that.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, as a matter of fact.
So if you're like,
Extract.
way too big.
Whoa.
You can also type in the number. Let's try that. So I'd rather go smaller and smooth it out. And then you can kind of just, depending on I'm just giving it some more volume inside the head. You can use this as well, just to kind of roughen the
So
shapes.
why you said more volume inside the head? Is that just so when you merge it together, there's definitely not going to be any gaps, or?
Well, that, and also as I'm sculpting it, if it's too thin, so for example, beep, I'm doing this, it's sculpting the inside. You can turn backface mask off, but it sculpts weird. It doesn't sculpt
as well. Okay.
You can use it to your benefit depending on what you're doing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do just to kind of cheat is set the brush alpha to something that already kind of gives a little bit more.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never even messed with any of those. I need to start doing that. And another thing too, to what Arlen was doing, where there's that depth to the eyebrows. So say if you go to print this guy out and you find out in the print that the eyebrows aren't popping off the surface enough, you can just go back in the file and just pull them a little bit more out of the skull. It's weird.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know when you're done?
Now there's a good question.
That's the question, baby. Because like I'll be sculpting, and I could probably sculpt on one thing for a year and never be done.
Yes, that's exactly correct. You just have to just say, okay, I got to move on. One thing I used to do, which I thought was, I don't know, some people don't agree with me, and that's fine. But it's like I was sculpt, like I'll sit down and be like, I'm going to sculpt something for an hour, and I'll sculpt for an hour and I'll throw it away. And then I'll sit down the next day, I'm going to sculpt for an hour, I'll sculpt, or however long it is. And I don't try to keep it. It's not about like, oh, this is really cool, I'm onto something. It was like, no, just get really fast at sculpting to this point. Yeah, don't.
Well, it's exercise.
It is, yeah. And I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that with music too. Like I play music, I do the same thing. I used to sculpt pumpkins too, and that was also the same thing. Like it was disposable art, so it was like it would rot, it would die. So I didn't overthink stuff. I just kind of went in there, and sculpted it and did whatever worked at the time, and I would just move on with life.
So, Arlen, do you ever use maybe the transpose master? Like, say if we wanted to take this head and now, I want the eyes a little wider. I want his whole head a little bit more squat. And do you ever use the transpose master to do that?
I personally do not. No.
Oh, okay.
I think I used to. I just used this, the move tool, and just kind of. I mean, I guess at the eyeballs themselves, you mean?
Well, I was thinking, so say you take the head and now all of a sudden I want to take this exact head and I just want to make it look like maybe his little brother or something. They still have kind of the same features, but his head's a little bit more squat, but they have the same eyes or something. You just take that head and you essentially move it around stuff, where essentially I call transpose master, where it takes everything that you have right now. It'll temporarily glue everything together. You can, so essentially it'll make it all one subtool.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do that for a head.
Oh, okay. Really?
For a head, I would just kind of probably freeform sculpt it again. Or just like take the head and just sculpt it from that. And just mash it up. Like Z-remesh it or Dynamesh it and just mash it up and then bring it back. But I do use the transpose tool for a lot of things.
Oh, okay.
As well.
I just wasn't sure if that was something. If it's not something you use, if it's something you did use that you wanted to show people, but if it's not something you really use for that, then don't worry.
No, you have to get sculpting and show us.
Ooh, maybe. But my head wouldn't look as good as yours. It would end up looking like Scooby-Doo or something.
We'll do
I
part
love
2 of this
Scooby-Doo.
in a couple weeks or months or something. We'll do part 2 and we'll let Carter drive and Arlen can
Trash talk Carter?
critique his
Is that
abilities.
I got to practice some more then. Okay.
Actually, what I would love is his practicing tool where he said him and his friend would try to do the same person and just have them show at the same time. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, like we have to figure out a how to put that on the screen thing, because I don't know if we can share 2 things at once.
No, I know that would be sheer awesomeness.
Yeah, side by side.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Carter, get practicing, and we'll make it a race.
Sculpt off.
I'm from the South, my friend. I'm not super fast, but I get there.
You get there.
Challenge accepted, Carter.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody sculpt Miss Pac-Man. Go.
I could even do that challenge. Oh, wait. How do you do the sphere?
It'd still take me a week, and I wouldn't be done with it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be done.
I'd be fussing around with the bow.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
With any sculpt on the eyes, do you
Yes.
typically sculpt in the iris and the pupil, or do you leave that up for paint?
If I'm doing a likeness, I will take the eyeball itself, and say,
Boom. Yep.
Okay.
map something like that, and then I would, I mean, depends how I feel that day again. Maybe inflate it a little bit and then just smooth it out.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, so you just inflate, you don't like move or anything. Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then it just has like, it just helps to capture an actual likeness,
Yeah.
because you see, and then because like depending on the person's face, actually it's helpful even on this face, like how eyelids
Where-
sit.
Yep.
You know, like
Yep.
if it's showing it, they look more surprised, or you can make them look more evil, depending on how things. I don't know. So it is helpful, and you can really kind of capture an actual likeness quite a bit better that way.
But that
What's
wouldn't be part of the final sculpt, or would?
I usually leave it
Okay.
on a likeness. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder how that affects like whatever deco hit the head's gonna get.
It's
It's
so small.
Yeah.
It's so small, it
that'll
doesn't
get,
matter.
Yeah, it'll get washed out a little bit in production.
Okay.
So you like if you're sculpting for different scales, it depends on how deep you do things as well. And like, so if you're gonna sculpt for 6-inch compared to 4-inch figures, your heads, the details you put into them are different. Yeah.
What's your feeling on that note? What's your feeling on eyelashes?
My feeling
Do you
What?
add them?
on sculpts,
Yeah.
on females, I do. Yeah.
You do? Okay. All right.
Oh, you don't do it?
Well, if you want to, I always thought because I ran into this, and I know there's two schools of thought. I think it's pointless to have it on there, and it's distracting. Like if I'm showing it to like a licensor or something, like say if I'm showing it to Lucasfilm and it has eyelashes, because in production it doesn't come through. We don't, at least not at this scale. There was no one decos eyelashes, and then
Well, which scale? 6-inch or 4-inch or 3 3/4?
either.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
either, because you're still doing now, especially like using Hasbro as an example, if they're doing the 3D the injection molding, not injection molding, the inkjet for the faces, it's got to kind of be somewhat, there can't be a super rough surface for it to go on. So if you've got, and the eyelashes at this scale never really come out, but some folks like to put them in there. But then for me, and again, this is me personally, it sets an expectation to where, oh, well, now someone might expect on their next round of approvals, they might expect, hey, where are the eyelashes? And it's a really subtle thing that A, doesn't show up in production. B, if one person's sculpting eyelashes and the other person isn't, is it fair to make everyone do that now? And if it's not going to show up anyway, then at least to me, like, what's the point?
Okay.
So,
What was that
But
tool?
again-
Clay?
That I'm using
ooh,
right
look
now.
at this.
Yeah, that's just the clay tool.
I don't think I've ever used the clay tool.
Oh, it's nice for like subtle. I always set the stroke modifiers. I'm not right now, but all the way up like that, and it's just a bit smoother. And just that is one that I'll sometimes just adjust and just have just you're just adding subtle forms and stuff, subtle volumes and stuff.
That's looking really good, sir.
Oh,
So-
thank you.
You're saying like details change, or the amount of details that you're going to put in change basically at the size. How much more detail does a 6-inch figure really have than a 4-inch figure?
That's a good question. You just have, because of the size of it, you can just get away with more details. So like if you have a wrinkle on, or like say a scar, you have a scar on a 4-inch figure, you're going to probably make that really big and probably just one line. Whereas on a 6-inch, you can get away with a little bit more subtleties around it because you can get that same amount of mass on that figure. Because I mean, they're not exactly like that, but do you know what I mean? Does that?
Yeah.
I'm probably not explaining that right. Carter, you explain it. I'm sculpting.
Oh, sorry. I'm here.
So expectation of how much more detail should you have? Like how much?
I like to have except for eyelashes. I like to have the detail there, especially with. I don't believe in having anything smooth unless it's going to be a piece of metal or something like that. So even though there might be like, I'll still have like a skin texture or some kind of fabric texture where there should be, it might get washed out in production, but I still want it there in the event, hey, it might pop. Usually for like a 4-inch figure, skin texture is not going to show up. Even a 6-inch figure, skin texture doesn't show up, but you will get fabric surface texture. So that will be there. The biggest difference between a 4-inch and a 6-inch, the smaller you go, there's always going to be production limitations. So say if you're doing a tunic or a skirt or something, the manufacturer will probably, their minimum wall thickness before things start to shrink away and tear will be like 0.8 millimeters. Now for a 6-inch figure, that's still going to look natural. It's still going to look fine. But when you have that same thickness on a 4-inch figure, it's going to start to get more noticeable because now everything's going to look thicker because it is a smaller figure. Right. So those kind of things, that's when we're like, even like a guy like this, we made his hat removable, but because he had to have that minimum wall thickness on the hat itself, at this scale, it makes his hat look thicker on his head because it has to be that particular thickness. So it's different from size to size.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's a good production answer. What about artist critique? Like, when you're looking at something, obviously you want to see as much detail as possible, but like what is if you were the artist that's saying, okay, this isn't good enough, when is it not good enough?
Okay. So for me, it depends on what we're trying to achieve. Is it going to be an animated figure? And again, I always go back to Scooby-Doo. Is it going to be something like Shaggy and we'll use the wrinkles in his shirt, for example. For something that's going to be animated, I want, in that theory, less is more. So I want these more stylized. I want the form and that silhouette to pop through more than having all of these detailed wrinkles. Now, if all of a sudden we do Shaggy and I want a realistic, this is in real world, I want seams on his shirt. I want more wrinkles. I want this to look like, hey, this is actually going to be a cotton shirt. So I want those kind of wrinkles to come through as opposed to him wearing like a burlap shirt or something. So I want those kind of details, but not overly detailed because you can get lost in details and go overboard. I used to do that all the time with my wrinkles. And that's one of those things where it's just kind of a gut and more of an experience type thing where you start to realize where I can get away with less is more here. But in this particular character, I'm going to need more detail. And I'm all about drapery, all about those kind of things. And wrinkles are never symmetrical. So there are people that would disagree with me when I've seen their sculpts, but no, wrinkles are never symmetrical. But yeah, it's just one of those things. To me, it just depends on the character and what the assignment is. But anytime there's realism, I want wrinkles. I want the texture. I want the seams. I want that kind of stuff. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Can I get into details on this guy now?
Yeah, go for it. So we're at 1 hour right now.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Just as a heads up, no pressure. So we did have another question in chat. Say you were going to make a utility belt with grenades on it. Would you model them separate and just jam them into the body, or sculpt the detail into the buck? And this is something that
separate.
I know we kind of talked about when Carter was here last time.
Yeah, I would definitely go separate personally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I just want to note before we get into that though, this is where I break symmetry. So I'm gonna turn symmetry off and then just kind of go in and start making it look better.
Do it.
I'm doing it.
Okay, so
Again, no reference. I'm just kind of making this up. So
And you're just rocking
with
the
me,
damn
guys.
standard tool,
yeah,
which kind of just does like a little carve.
yeah,
And so that's the pressure sensitivity that you're using, where it's going from that thin to thick to thin in the middle. Because this is the part that
yes. I'm
okay.
It's like I'm kind of
And then
barely
you
touching
smooth
it,
it.
and then I smooth it out. And a lot of times I'll do that secret smooth or whatever it's called, where you hold shift to smooth and then you let go of it and keep smoothing. You know what I'm
Oh
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
What?
There's two different smooths. So you can hold shift and you smooth, or you can hold shift and smooth, and it does like you can choose it separately. What is it called? Smooth alt. Yeah.
So it's just like a more subtle smoothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like and again, I haven't really got super. Haven't divided it too much yet, so I'm still kind of keeping. As I add more details, I'll divide it more, and then it'll be ridiculous, and Carter will be like, "Turn those active points down," and I'll be like, "Don't tell me what to do. You're not my real father." And I go random. I don't have any system. I'm just like, oh, I want to work on this part, like ADHD. Oh, I want to work on this part. So
look, a squirrel.
yeah, basically.
So
But it's just like in my mind, it slowly comes together. So, whatever.
yeah. So here's a question. I think any of us could answer it to step in, but it's kind of a fun question. Arlen, have you ever picked up a figure and was so offended and thought you needed to redo the head?
One that I sculpted?
No, like
Just in
a
general.
different figure, like Lieutenant Falcon. I think that's the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Oh, how do you say that without being rude? Yes.
Yeah, just be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just in my mind, it's like, oh, that's not how I would have done it.
Right.
So I would be like, oh, I would want to do it like this. And then I would maybe go do that.
Arlen, do you 3D print?
Yes. I have like 5 3D printers.
Okay.
Oh.
Are you all DLP, all resin, or do you do some FDM?
No, I just recently got an FDM, and my kids
Yeah.
are obsessed with those dragons. You know those?
That's
Yeah.
oh yeah, the print and
So
place.
I sculpted one for them. My daughter's like, I want like this water dragon, and I was like, sure. So I sculpted this dragon. It's got like all these little fins all the way. Anyways,
Oh.
it was a,
I'm a little jealous. My kids couldn't care less about any of this.
Oh.
aw.
I want to do
Yeah.
something that impresses them eventually.
Mine are still young though.
Yeah.
I have 3 girls, and they range from 6 to my oldest just turned 13. So
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, she was a baby when we not
Yeah.
quite a baby, but almost a baby, I guess, when we first started working together.
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't realize you had a teenager now. Wow.
Yeah, she's cool though. She's really
Yeah.
into music, so we kind of bond with that, which is fun.
Oh, awesome.
She's very talented. She's gonna be more talented than me, that's for sure.
That's
So-
awesome.
If I
Yeah.
had you with this figure and then I said, "Oh, Arlen, sorry," all of a sudden the designer now wants him yelling, like, how would you go about doing that? You don't have to show me. I'm just curious.
I can show you.
Oh, okay.
I would again. The head is not really great, so it's just gonna be what it is.
It's great. Oh,
I'll probably just Dynamesh it.
okay.
I would probably use a different masking option, but I'm just using this because that's what I have.
Okay.
And
What did
And make it
Dynameshing
yellow.
accomplish when you did that?
well, it was divided, and I'm just gonna keep Dynameshing it.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah, if it has subdivisions like those levels of those grits of sandpaper, it won't. Yeah, it won't Dynamesh. You got to get rid of them, and that's the only bad part. Wait, I'm confused. Perfect. That's exactly what the designer wanted.
Yeah. And Carter, can you give me some reference and scream?
About that, a silent scream.
Sure, close enough.
I was hoping he was going to be like,
Oh, okay. So you actually just cut that part out.
Yeah, I don't have time to do anything else.
No. Oh, okay. So yeah, you would definitely beat me speed wise because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make this piece. I'm gonna stick it in his mouth. I'm gonna bullion it out, and yeah.
Oh no, I'm too lazy. Oops. Yeah, and then I would just re-sculpt everything.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, it has the weird thing on it. Yeah, and just re-sculpt it to look right, like all this and
the muscles in the jaw. Yep.
Yeah, because they always come out.
Yep.
Right. And it's probably a better and easier way to do this, but this is how I would do it, anyways.
Yep. As long as it works.
Jeez, quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually working on. Oh no, I'm not. Never mind. Not doing anything, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just spend the time to make it look like he's really.
Yeah. Bring the brows and stuff down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be like, rah. But yeah, I would spend the time and get it sculpted correctly.
So what's interesting is that didn't create any kind of because you know how you can get a seam line that doesn't want to go away.
Yeah.
It didn't do any of that. You can tell what it was, but he's able to kind of smooth and sculpt over it and clean it up.
Yeah, it's because I'm not scared of ruining my sculpt. That's where a lot of people will have problems. It's like they'll be like, oh, I don't want to ruin it, so I'm going to go as gentle and careful as possible, and then we'll get into problems. But if you just go in there and mash it, you can kind of, you can definitely get it to where you need quick, and then you just go in and smooth it out and get it done.
Yeah, that's what I was running into with when I was teaching myself articulation. I was thinking of it like, oh well, this is my prototype sculpt. I'm going to screw it up or something, and then all I did was hit duplicate, and I just had another one.
I still do that.
Yeah, I know I still do that, and so getting past that mindset of I don't want to ruin my sculpt or I don't want to screw up or something. Well, just make a copy and just keep making copies.
I usually just make one copy, and then if I need it again, I'll duplicate it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I do. I think I showed it to you guys the other day. This is how I do stubble. Oops, that's opposite.
Spray.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I turn symmetry off in the spots that need to have.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, you're sanitizing these down.
And if you do it again, if you do it, I'm dynameshing it. If you do it on layers, which is probably a smarter thing to do. If you do it on layers, you can always push it out more for print because it needs to be exaggerated for printing. If that makes sense. He's got chops. And I use that for skin pores as well. Just go the opposite way. There's probably tons of brushes out there that you can use. But I just go ghetto. Not ghetto, that's not the right word.
Well, if this isn't broken, don't fix it. Like there's more than one way to do anything, and if you got something that works, why pursue it further?
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, and then same thing for skin, but I usually set the stroke jitter and the imperfection up So you can kind of gets it a little, well, gotta go negative on that. Kind of right, you can kind of get skin textures on there. I even do it on the lips sometimes just to break it up.
It's like watching Bob Ross paint.
It is.
Put some happy little pores over
Oh
here.
man.
Wrinkles over here.
Like the only difference is I don't have a beard right now.
Can you guys hear my dog snoring?
No.
Okay. He's snoring away.
You're gonna make me want to
So
learn.
we have a question that says, do any of you guys use Nomad? And I feel like I've heard of it, but I couldn't even tell you what that is. Nomad.
I haven't. I think Carter hasn't you?
I just recently downloaded it again. To me, Nomad is kind of has the interface that ZBrush needed. It's a lot more intuitive. It's a lot more user friendly. If someone wants to just jump in, there's a part of me that I wish there was a version where I could actually have it on my laptop too, and not just my iPad. But I mainly downloaded it so I could learn, essentially take my ZBrush sculpt and bring it into render, because I don't want to pay $1,200 a year for Keyshot. It's a little out of the budget.
So you can render in it?
Oh God, yeah. The renders, yeah. If you look on some of the like just hashtag Nomad renders or something like that, like on Instagram, just take a look at some of the renders people have done in there.
Huh.
But I do eventually want to also teach myself sculpting in it. So, but I'm set in my ways.
But you already know how to sculpt.
I fake it really well, my friend. I fooled a lot of people. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, keep fooling people. It's great.
It's looking awesome, my friend.
It is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm still shocked how fast you crank this out too, with the hair. Ah.
What did you see that made you say,
Just Model Misfit saying like,
Oh.
sculpting at and said found it pretty easy to understand. Yeah, I literally downloaded it this weekend, so I just need to set down a little bit. I just was playing with some of the poly painting and stuff in there, but
And it's just
it's
just an iPad app?
oh yeah. But it's super, and it's only, I think it's like just $20 or something, US. So it's
Is that like $20 and you got it, or per month?
oh yeah, $20, and yeah, no subscription, which is
Oh,
another
wow.
thing I love about it. Yeah,
Nice.
that's it. Yeah. And yeah, I'm not sure if the person who created it, I don't know if they are completely separate or used to work with Pixelogic or something. I don't know if there's a connection there. I mean, there's definitely a lot of there's some similarities, but I don't know how much different one digital program sculpting program is going to be from another, because I think a lot of them have like some kind of like a gizmo or something like that, and Nomad definitely has that too. So, but yeah, just the interface and everything is so, it doesn't look like you're looking at like essentially the layout to like an airplane or something. Like ZBrush it's a little daunting, especially if this is something like the first time you've ever tried digital sculpting. You try to jump into ZBrush, and yes, you still got to tell it to sculpt. So, which I still baffles me. Oh, I know that.
Nice.
Yeah. I just love the fact that we live in an age now where, if there's something out there that nobody's still made a toy of or something, that you can just kind of make it yourself now, or find somebody that'll help you make it.
That is dope.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris finally decided to show up and he's already gone. He popped a comment in there so he could say he was watching, and
I was here.
It's because I messaged him and was talking shit.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to ask me about this?
Cool. No, if you wanna rock out a ball joint for us,
Oh.
because I am curious how you do it.
Oh, for the neck.
Yeah.
Like just a ball joint in the head?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Like a snap-on ball joint.
Yeah. Like I'm still like doing. I kind of have like a head that I've pre-made in Fusion that I import in because it's just perfect, and then I just have to not screw up the inside of the sculpt. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So just a ball joint? Okay. I will put a sphere in there. I use live Boolean.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ooh.
See, it's not like everyone kind of has their own way of doing things because, like we talked about this the other day. Like at the end of the day, no one's teaching a class how to make action figure sculpts.
Yeah.
Like you might learn some ZBrush stuff, but it doesn't mean someone's taught you like this is the way you make a ball joint in a neck.
Yeah.
Like no, that there is no standard thing. So it's always cool to kind of see how other people do it.
yeah, I mean this is just quick and dirty, but
Oh yeah, I never even thought about doing it like that. Again, I do it super convoluted, and there's really not a reason to do it that way. So
yeah.
that makes sense.
And then I just inflate, assuming that I've already scaled my head. Inflate, I usually just go for 3D printing, like 0.1 millimeter difference. It depends on exactly what you're doing, but pretend I measured it and I inflated it, and and it, yeah. So then you can see it's got a bit of a tiny gap. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would have made the entire shape and then Boolean that out instead of the ball and doing the yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Then you and I can have a sculpt challenge too.
What do they say? Iron sharpens iron.
Oh, and what's I assume that's Mike from What's on Joe's Mind is in the chat. He's been here watching. So he did show up. There was rumors in the beginning that you were going to be on the podcast for some reason. Not that you aren't welcome, but not something we discussed ever. But I will be on the What's on Joe's Mind podcast on Tuesday night.
Oh,
Woohoo.
nice.
So while Arlen is dialing in this guy's sweet hairdo, I will plug. We've got a couple shows upcoming. We've got next Sunday, kind of at our normalish time, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock East Coast. I think that's right. We will have Dominic Servate on again. So he was on. Was it last week or the week before?
2 weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago, and he's finished his 6 foot tall Zartan.
Oh, I saw that.
He's finished the print.
Yeah. So he finished the print. I don't think the whole thing is done, but he finished the print and he's got it assembled. And I think he posted a picture of it like sitting down next to his bat. But he's going to be on, and we will be doing the anatomy of an O-ring. So it's one thing to kind of design the O-ring, but like no kidding, printing it and assembling it where it's got working, all the articulation works, all the joints work. I assume the O-ring works, all that stuff. I've never actually printed one out and put it together, but Artwann has and Dominic has. So we're gonna listen to them kind of talk about how they've done it. So that'll be pretty cool. And then the following Sunday, the 23rd, we're going to kind of circle back around to and have a 3D printing 101, kind of the basics of episode. And we've got Chris McLeod from the Full Force podcast will be on because he doesn't know anything about 3D printing. So we're going to have someone there to kind of ask some basic questions, because for us, we've been kind of doing this so long and talked about it so much, it's real easy to forget some of the basics that some people may have questions about. So he's going to be on, and he's going to be our kind of litmus test for what questions people have.
Yeah.
Cool.
But that one is going to be another night episode, so that will be 4:00 West Coast, 5:00 here, and then 7:00 East Coast. So another night one, but that'll be fun.
Hey, Arlen,
Yeah.
hairstyle. Let's say off of one of those peaks, he had like a little part or something. How would you make that happen? Like right, yeah, like right there where he might have parted his hair or something.
Oh, yeah.
I would probably carve it in like that to start, depending on how it went. Go back to this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just depends on how it is.
And Mark, I have a question for you. Do you guys ever on the podcast, do you ever talk about like molding and casting or anything like that?
We've talked about it, and we there's actually, he might be here, Benjamin Bentley. Yeah, he's here. He's pretty good. He's been doing it longer than any of us and kind of knows his way around. So at some point, we'd actually been real close to having an episode, and then he had some damage to his house from the hurricane, and postponed it. So we actually do need to circle around and talk to him specifically about that again. So
Awesome.
Feel free to let us know in the chat if you've got a good day coming up in the next couple of weeks. And but yeah, we definitely want to do that. We've talked about it. Yeah. And I've dabbled like a little. He's done some really good stuff.
Yep.
Oh, I'll talk to John from Kentucky Fried Toys, because he's good too.
He's really good.
Yeah.
You should also plug my Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell us about your Kickstarter.
Yeah. You know what? I will
Oh, you want
straight
me to
up.
plug it?
Well, I mean, it is. I would rather have you talk about it, because it was fun, kind of just listening to you and Ira talk about like the concept.
Right.
I'm gonna bring it up and share it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This guy's like a super villain. He needs a monocle.
Yeah.
Yes. Done. Getting a monocle.
Oh, getting a monocle.
Nice.
I'm actually trying to bring those back. I want to, instead of having reader glasses, just have one and bust it out. You can get them on Amazon.
You should bring them back.
You can get them on Amazon.
I think so.
So that's a level of detail where, like you said, you're trying to bring them back, and we can take that with a grain of salt. But clearly, you've been pricing them. So that's interesting. That is interesting.
Is there a certain eye that the monocle should be on? Or is it just the eye that you don't?
I don't know. I guess it would be the eye that you would have the part on.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That same side, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Now he's a villain. Thank you, Arlen.
Oh, anything for you, sir.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I see some other like questions, or not questions, but like comments and stuff about like the casting, because I've done casting years ago, and I have a pressure pot and I have a compressor. But what they say, like, just let the compressor run and it'll shut off. But I'm terrified that the thing's gonna keep going and it's gonna explode.
No, there should be a pressure gauge on your compressor, and the
Yeah.
pot that limit the amount of pressure that can go into it.
Yeah. And so you're supposed to be able to like just let it run and before you actually fill the tank.
Well,
And
I mean,
guess,
maybe it depends on the compressor you've got. It should have an auto shut off. When it gets to a certain pressure, it should turn off.
yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm afraid of, that I haven't pushed it to that point yet. Like I'm usually, because there is a point when there's red on the meter. I don't want it to get into the red. Is it going to shut off before it gets there? So I automatically shut it off myself. But which means I always have to go back in and fill it.
For me, I have a pressure gauge on the pressure pot. When it gets to the pressure I want it to, which is like, I want to say like 50 psi, I can shut a valve and it just locks it.
Oh, okay.
And so, if your pressure pot is losing pressure because the air compressor isn't running, you've got some other things you got to fix.
Okay.
Because that's what I'll do is I'll get it up to, I think it was like 50 psi. I'll shut the valve and disconnect the air compressor altogether, and it'll just sit there at, overnight or for a day or two.
Oh, okay.
And just hold the pressure. If it's losing pressure, you've got an issue that you've got to address.
Okay, maybe that's what it is, because every time I go to, like, say I'm going to run some parts, I have to sit and wait for it to fill again before filling the pot. And then once the pot's full, I have to keep redoing it every time. I'm thinking it's got to be an easier way or else I'm doing it wrong. But like I said, the thing scares me. So.
Okay.
I'm always more concerned about which way to actually make your mold cuts. Like where should they be? Like when you're orienting a piece, like how should it be oriented in the mold?
Oh, okay.
All right. So I wonder if Ben left because he never routed up to us talking about.
I think.
But yeah, well, we it's definitely on our list of things we want to do. I'll just make sure you know.
Yeah. No rush, but yeah, if there's definitely going to be like a forum or something, I definitely want to tune in for that. So
Those are it's always good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Now he's tying a damsel to some train tracks.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's not.
I want a mustache like that so bad.
Salvador Dali has now joined Cobra.
Oh wow!
With his clock.
I feel like Dali had a monocle too. I feel like I've definitely seen.
I think at one point he had everything.
So Andy and Indy, I definitely agree. That pad and that pen makes the hair strokes just look so easy.
Oh yeah, Benjamin's still there. Arlen, you didn't talk about your Kickstarter.
Oh.
Yeah.
He started getting into it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned monocle and I went sideways. So yeah, I guess I have a Kickstarter running right now for an action figure line that I designed and sculpted. I painted all the heads, which not many people have really seen yet. We'll start to show those as we go along. We have a comic book that my brother wrote, and I'm illustrating part of it. We also recorded an album together over 2 years that is basically a soundtrack to these. So I always like to think of it as a soundtrack to a movie that doesn't exist. And that's basically what it is. It's a soundtrack. So it's kind of like something that you can listen to as you're like opening your toys or playing with them. It's definitely got feels.
So do you have, is it a Build-A-Figure with?
So no, so you can, the idea is that right at the thigh cut and the shoulder cut, you can pop the limb off and add on like a zombified limb. Same thing with the heads. The heads pop off, the necks pop off, hands pop off.
I see that.
As the Kickstarter goes along, the stretch goals are actually the blacked things, like the things that are blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
So as we make start to hit our goals, we're going to open up a few more figures, but we also are going to try to add more
Accessories, more pieces. Wow.
Do you have anything in here that's like your favorite or
That guy's
something
my favorite.
This guy right here?
He needs a monocle and
Yes.
an evil mustache now.
Space monocle.
Yeah, space monocle from Mars. Yeah, so you can, and the idea is that you can, build your zombie army, and you can not have them all have just the zombie arms and legs. Like you can have them be fully suited or one full suit and all. So like I said, all the limbs swap and then all the heads swap. And then at the very end, our last stretch goal is a head pack, and that's 5 heads that we haven't shown at all yet. And those are some of my favorite ones, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you got a guitar.
Ukulele, actually.
Oh,
It's
ukulele.
probably the most accurate ukulele sculpted at 1/12. All the frets are actually the spacing would play in tune if you actually could strum
They
it.
just string that boy up.
That looks so cool. And you did all the renders and everything, right?
Yeah, I did. So my brother and I did all the recording, all the music. I drew all the pictures. I rendered everything. I sculpted everything. I printed almost everything. Like I said, painted all the heads. I did the paint masters for 2 of them, and then we got Jason from Spiro to do the bodies for 4 other ones. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then Jason did the logo as well for Space Zombies from Mars. And then I did all the faction logos, and then I got him to make them look better.
You've got a lot of great accessories in here too. I like the classified folder. You got a camera
Right?
here.
There's lots of fun stuff. They all have kind of a personality. Is kind of what
Yeah.
I was trying to go for. So, like each accessory is kind of tells a little bit about each character.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Is this gun kind of Lost in Space inspired?
Yeah, it's just like a retro
Yeah,
blaster.
that's cool. I like that a lot.
And the helmets are cool. So, like the bubble helmet will actually come apart, like clamshell, and come in, and that's how it goes over the head. The regular astronaut one, the idea is that you'll take the head off first, put the bottom half of the helmet on, put the head on, and then the top half, and then the visor also flipped up and down.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and so the accessories that are, if you scroll up, like her arms that she has, not her actual arms, but the claw arms she has, Julia Stryker, those will plug into your backpack, and they're super articulated, and they go like this. But you can pop those off, and if you scroll down, there's a buzzsaw, and those will plug into there, and there's a drill that will also plug in there. So it's all kind
Oh,
of
Okay.
all,
Cool.
yeah, modular is kind of what I was going for.
yep. Makes sense.
Hmm.
Oh, here's bus on.
Yeah.
And then the drill. There we go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looks amazing, my friend.
Thank you. It was a lot of
Like
work.
it really shows that you can really kind of put your heart into sculpting these things. It
I
must have taken you 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for everyone that's watching this, these are 6-inch scale.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll scale in theory with like G.I.JOE and Monster Force and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, and I popped the link to the Kickstarter into the chat.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very cool.
And I just want to mention that the Kickstarter doesn't actually take your money until it's over, so April 1st. So if you want to back it now, helps us get closer to the stretch goals. And it won't take your money till later. And you can always change it. You can go in and switch out which figures you want. But the quicker we can get to our stretch goals, the more fun it's going to be. Because some of the behind the scenes or behind the black stuff is some of the fun stuff, I think.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. If anybody's got some questions, pop them in the chat now, please. Yeah, these are amazing.
I will have to say I am disappointed in one thing.
What's that?
Looking at this, that your the orange engineer Georgia McBride does not come with a crowbar.
Well,
because
there's always this. I mean, the thing is, when you're sculpting all this stuff and you're worried about, you're thinking about how much it costs to actually make this stuff.
Yeah,
you have to make decisions. So those decisions are like, you want to add everything. I want to sculpt 1 million heads for these. I want to give them all different bodies. I want to give them crazy amounts of accessories. But really what it comes down to, it's very, very, very expensive just to tool before you even have to pay. And then you have to order minimums of a certain amount. And it all adds up very quickly, hence the cost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not making money on this. Like, if we hit this goal, that's not paying for my sculpting. That's just paying to get these made.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, like with the Kickstarters with new IPs where where it's a smaller run, it's really hard to keep the price down for how much that tooling costs.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like tooling's unbelievable.
It's crazy. Yeah, and it's not getting cheaper.
No. And then there's just the shipping to get it across the ocean too. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, but so Benjamin was asking if the head Arlen's making, will it be available in the group file tab? Ay.
What does that mean?
They're asking if they can have the STL of the thing you just made.
Oh.
Back to Kickstarter.
Back to Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter funds, I'll put it in I'll give it to you guys.
Perfect.
There you go. It's on.
Perfect.
It's on the stream. So you'll know after April 1st, Ben.
That looks great, Arlen.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
man. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely anytime.
That's incredible.
Also, sorry it's taken so long. He asked me what, 1.5 years ago?
Probably. Probably.
Probably.
You're busy creating an amazing Kickstarter.
Yeah. And I like I mentioned, I have 3 kids, so it's and we homeschool them.
And you homeschool, yeah.
Oh wow.
You know, we did that at my house for a while, and it's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy to do. Cool. All right. So I think we're gonna wrap this up. Arlen and Carter, thank you again.
Yay.
Just
thanks for having us.
Yeah. I learned a lot. I'll be watching this repeatedly. For how did he do exactly X? And yeah. Cool. All right. Does anybody have anything before we kill this thing?
Ben did have a question. I think he asked it before, but real quick, Arlen, what would be your approach to doing a robot head versus a human head? So something that's...
Depends on the robot. If it's like a humanoid robot, I would probably start sculpting it similar, and then I'd probably clean it up, maybe start to add like more basic geometry into it to make it look more robot-y. If it's say like a transformer head, I've typically done a lot of that in CAD, honestly, with basic geometry to get it close. And if there's anything that's more organic, I will do it in and then I'd bring it into ZBrush if it needs more organic parts. But
And you did the Praetorian, right?
I did not do it, but I articulated it, and then I did
Oh,
the
okay.
shield.
Ah,
I did the
okay.
shield. Yeah.
Did the shield?
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool.
Cool.
That's, no,
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Mike.
this has been fun, guys. Thank you so
Yeah,
much tonight.
Thanks.
All right, so we are going to roll out of here. Thanks again, everybody. This is instantly on YouTube and available. Cool. Yeah, I had a blast. And yeah, definitely we'll talk in the future at some point, and we'll set it up where we can have some side by side sculpting or something going on.
Oh man.
Okay.
Oh
Cool.
That'd be
man.
fun. Or
Cool.
just have Carter give Carter and I something to sculpt, say like I said, the Joker or something, and then we'll sculpt
Okay.
it, bring it in, and you can be like,
I
oh,
think
that's
it's
your take
Darkwing
on it.
Duck.
Oh,
So-
oh yeah, Dark. Oh no, I'm not sculpting against Carter for Darkwing Duck. No, thank you.
It's like, you
Okay.
got to give me a fair shake.
All right, we'll come up with something usable. We are a Joe themed show, so we'll something either in that universe or adjacent. And,
Honolulu.
Oh, Honda Lou.
yeah,
Everybody wants a Honda Lou.
we could
Yeah.
do a
Only
do a
matter of
Honda
time.
Lou head that we can pop onto Scarlet or something.
Oh no, I got it. The manager for Cold Slither, because they're not going to make that figure.
That's this
Ooh.
guy.
No, no, that's the producer.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, with the green glasses, right?
God, I gotta
He
go
was
back
the
and
video
watch that.
video director, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not picturing the manager.
Yeah.
Neither am I.
All right, Mike. We'll come back to this. We'll.
Yeah.
All right,
Man, all
we're
of a
gonna
sudden- Right.
we're
All of
gonna-
a sudden, everybody's throwing in their bid.
yeah. All right, we'll do something in the we'll ask for some suggestions in the group, and we'll come to a conclusion and go from there.
All
Cool.
right. Let the
All right.
games
Cool.
begin.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks again,
Mike.
everybody.
Yeah. Thanks,
Have a
guys.
Everybody
Joe.
else,
Great week.
hang on for a second. You don't need to drop off once we go dark.
Yo, Joe.
Right.
Yo, Joe.
Cobra.